Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. It's been a wonderful, wonderful ride with you guys, and I'm looking forward to more great videos and dropping this straight game on you. Hit the thumbs up button, tell a friend, subscribe to the channel, and if you really want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please hit that bell notification. I appreciate you. Thank you. And let me get right into it. This question right here comes from a sister from Atlanta, Georgia. And the question is, basically, DELRAY, I seen your recent video on the art of dialogue. I love what you did. I understand it to be facts, but there's been a lot of people out here trying to discredit what you said. Could you give more a substantive commentary in regards to what you read and the thing that you exposed? I really appreciate you. Thank you, sister. I appreciate that. More importantly, what I want to say is, you know, I understand that there's been a lot of people out there trying to discredit or whatever. But one thing they must understand, no matter what you do and where you go, you can't discredit facts. You can't discredit what's in black and white. You can only try to throw up weak diversions, name calling, and all of the other distractions that you would try to deter people from the truth for some reason, so that you can keep on lying and you can keep on misleading the people and having them think that you know something that they don't. And it's easy to do, if you will. You know, if you wasn't around back then, like I said, I knew Tupac. You know, I sold 2 million records with Tupac. We hung out on various occasions. Like I said, I met him through my homegirl in Maryland. And as a matter of fact, I knew Tupac before a lot of these guys that claim that want to discredit me. You know, I knew Tupac before they did. And so, like I said, once again, my name is going to be etched in the history books with Tupac Shakur as a co-writer, as a friend, and as someone who stood staunchly for the truth and the facts involved in my brother's life. So I want you to get this straight, first and foremost. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the context, and because if you haven't seen the video over the Art of Dialogue, it's where I bring out the bail agreement, and I go over, you know, the facts. And if you're having problems understanding that, what I would like you to do is, if you looking at the Art of Dialogue video, just pause it and then read the paperwork. You know what I mean? That's all you basically got to do. Pause the video when the paperwork pops up and just read it, and you'll understand and have clarification for yourself. And please don't let anybody else tell you what it is. If you can read, you can succeed in understanding what I put out there as being truth and fact. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give it to you from Tupac's mouth. Tupac basically said in plain English what I basically said. But see, people weren't paying attention. And like I said, if you don't know, that's what my job is here and on Straight Game TV, is to bring you up to date on the facts in regards to Tupac, so that you can have a new profound respect for who he was, what he was about, running his own business, being a young black entrepreneur at that particular time, and also being, I would say, probably 3 to 4 or 5 steps ahead than most of the people that he was dealing with. But Tupac was the type of guy, he didn't need to really brag about that, because he had the talent to back up everything that he needed to do. So, and wearing 2 hats at the same time, you know, businessman and artist, sometimes it's difficult, you know, and then you're dealing with a whole bunch of controversy, you know, people, you know, the shootings, you know, people trying to get at you, you know, people are jealous, and so on and so forth. So in so many words, like I said, I knew about this information basically back in '96. Me and Tupac had talked, and I'd asked him, and like I said before, I said, yo, how did you go from Interscope to death row. Because I understand, like I said, once again, there's a process that usually happens. One thing gets voided out and something else, goes into effect in regards to that. Usually money's exchanged. But the thing that was the red flag for me was the fact that death row was distributed by Interscope, right? And so when I asked him that, he just looked at me and smiled. You know what I mean? He didn't tell me, he didn't get into, you know what I mean? And I took that to understand that, it was a little bit more to what it seemed like in the public eye. Now, as far as the bail, that information was out back then. You know what I mean? It was actually in the news. Here's a clipping right here. And so, like I said, so for everybody telling you that Suge Knight had bailed Tupac out, they really didn't know what was going on. They just was going on what the overall narrative was, and that people were saying because Suge was so close to the situation. And let me be perfectly clear. Suge Knight, for what he did with Death Row, and Dr. Dre, what he did for Death Row, I got to give Dre his credit too. The DOC and them guys that were there on the ground, even before they changed the name and the plan that they concocted to bring this to fruition. All of those guys get credit, right? Suge Knight was the guy, and like I said, the head guy, and going and dealing with the Tupac situation. But once again, the facts are the facts, right? And I'm going to get you to understand it one time and one time only again. So like I said, if you've seen the Art of Dialogue video, I'm going to give it to you right now from Tupac Shakur's mouth. You ready? Let's go. So now, the Vibe interview. If you understand the paperwork in which I read, there's the second paperwork that I showed in which there was a letter from Interscope, right? To addressed to Tupac Shakur record label. His record label was Out the Gutter Records. Now, the reason why that's so important is because if Tupac was if his contract was with Interscope was to be leased or assigned over to Death Row, there wouldn't be this letter from Interscope to Out the Gutter Records. It wouldn't exist. It would say basically from Interscope to Death Row Records, but it was from Interscope to Out the Gutter Records. And the reason why that's so important is because, like I said, Tupac had his own record label. He was signed to his own record label. Tupac had bought the rights from TNT Records, is which the label that he initially signed with when he got his deal. TNT then got a deal with Interscope, right? But when Tupac bought them out, if in one interview you heard Tupac say, "I just bought my old managers out. I'm independent now." All of that. That was in the last interview that he did with Rob Marriott. If you want to pull that up, you can hear that. That's what he was talking about for the people that don't know, right? So now, Tupac, in doing the Vibe interview, now Tupac is out of jail in this particular part of the Vibe interview, and I'm going to read to you the facts and the reason why he said that, and the reason why what I said, and when showing you the paperwork, basically reading from the paperwork. Another thing, most people don't understand, that paperwork in particular had to be shown to the judge in Tupac's case in order for him to be released from prison. Because you had a lot of people questioning, is the paperwork real? Or he just printed that up himself. Come on. You're being ridiculous. But I understand because, like I said, you've been lied to so much, you don't really know what to believe. But I'm here to bring you the facts. The paperwork was signed. But once again, that paperwork had to be reviewed by the judge, making sure all the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted, and everything was in effect because they didn't want any mistakes to happen. So hence the corporate agreement that had to be agreed to by the board of Warner Brothers in order for that to happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, I'm sorry, Atlantic Records, Warner Brothers. That was the same umbrella, right? So the board had to agree in order to put up that corporate guarantee of $850,000. That if Tupac didn't adhere to all of the things under the bail, that they would have to pay the city and the people of New York $850,000, right? So now, Let's go to the Vibe interview where Tupac actually says it himself what the situation was. But if you didn't know Tupac, right, you didn't hang out with him, you didn't conversate with him, right? And like myself, I wasn't trying to be an outlaw. I wasn't trying to be on death row. Like I said, I knew Tupac from a girlfriend of mine back in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, right? In which he had a relationship with. They was, a little thing, like I say, guess when he would come back through. And like I said, people who know my story, like, I met him at Bowie State. You know what I mean? He was cool. She introduced me. That's what kind of lowered most guys who come up, they meet, hey, yo, I rap. I want to, that was my relationship. Even though my homegirl at the time did tell him, like, yo, he do music too. But I wasn't trying to really get at him like that. You know what I mean? My thing was, hey, what's up? Boom, boom. I didn't believe she knew him. She knew him. So, and from there, we had a cool relationship because, like I said, I wasn't on the, I'm trying to rap, here got my demo or nothing like that. And once again, the proof is in the pudding. My name is in the history books with Tupac Shakur as a co-writer, as well as me speaking up for the facts involving the brother's life. You see the plaques on the wall. We don't have to play no games, y'all. You know what I mean? Not bragging, but it's simply the truth. Let me get to the Vibe interview. Tupac, in relation to what I'm saying, I feel like he kind of like, speaking in regards and in favor of what I just revealed. This Tupac, more than a family. Death Row to me is like a machine, the biggest, strongest superpower in the hip hop world. In order to do the things that I gotta do, we gotta have that superpower. Now we got to expand and show exactly what a superpower is. At Death Row, I don't have to worry about embarrassing nobody or standing out or doing something they don't want me to do. Basically, he was talking about being under Interscope and how they tried to micromanage him and felt like, he was being a bit risky. And like I said, he did get in a lot of trouble, so I can understand that from a business perspective. But now he's saying, with Death Row, I don't have to feel that way. And that's the reason why they wanted him under Death Row. Interscope, they released him to be under the banner like, yo, you know what? Suge, if you can watch over him, we can still do business, so on and so forth. That's what that paperwork relates back to. And like I said, Suge's situation with that was to be his manager. And they also gave Suge a new publishing deal. I'll get into that in a minute. And then Tupac goes in to say the most important part in regards to that. Tupac said, after all of that, he said, I'm still Tupac. At Death Row, I got my own shit. I'm independent, but this is the machine that I roll with. Once again, I'm still Tupac at Death Row. I got my own shit. I'm independent, but this is the machine that I roll with. Basically, Tupac is saying to those who didn't know, basically he's saying that I'm independent. I'm rolling with Death Row. This is the machine that I roll with, but I'm independent. Independent means I'm out the gutter records. He didn't have to say that because then that would be like you would throw the situation off and understand what it was and playing your role and doing what you need to do, right? And then basically he says, as for me and Suge right now, as of today, we're the perfect couple. I can see this is what I've been looking for. Management wise, listen, because Suge Knight was only Tupac's manager, and that was it. Tupac wasn't signed to Death Row. Management wise, he rides like I ride. With Suge as my manager, I got to do less. I got to do less. Because before, niggas wasn't scared of me. So I brought the fear to them. Now I don't have to do all that to get respect. Because motherfuckers is scared shitless of Suge. You get what I'm saying? And I did the video telling you that with Tupac being with Suge, it kind of gave him more street credibility. And I can understand that. But that shit worked with a double-edged sword. On one end, you believing that, they're scared of Suge. But on the other end, it led to his demise. Because he did more than he needed to do in regards to that. Instead of just staying under what he knew to be his thing. But the thing that was misleading is that paragraph that I read in the Art of Dialogue of the agreement that he signed in Dannemora, where it basically said that Suge was supposed to prepare a contract. and him to sign to Death Row. He was looking for that. You know what I mean? But it never happened. So like I said, Tupac basically told you right here, right now, that I'm independent. And this is the machine that I roll with. I got my own shit. Not I'm with Death Row like that and so on and so forth. This is the machine that I roll with. This is Tupac fresh out of prison, y'all. And, you know, and like all of the times that Tupac would yell Death Row, yeah, he was supposed to do that. That was what he was supposed to do. He wasn't supposed to say, you know, out the gutter. You know what I mean? He was supposed to say Death Row because that was the brand that he was rolling with. And so that's how he did it. So like I said, if you've been listening to anybody tell you anything else other than that, these are Tupac words himself. You can't twist this up. You can't take this out of context. It is what it is. And you can't debate facts. You understand what I'm saying? You know, people can say whatever they want to say, and I'm perfectly cool with that. Man, it's all good, you know? Like I said, Tupac was a friend of mine. I know the conversations that we've had, you know what I mean? And like I said, I just did some other videos with Art of Dialogue. We're going to release them soon about a few other times that I had the chance to, you know, hang out with the brother and see some things that yeah, it's all good. So like I said, you guys, more importantly, this is Tupac saying it out of his own mouth in the Vibe interview. Like I said, and I'm going to say it one more time. He said, I'm still Tupac. At Death Row, I got my own shit. I'm independent. But this is the machine that I roll with. So they don't try to, you know, this is the machine that I roll with. He said, I'm independent, but this is the machine that I roll with. And he said, more than a family. You know what I mean? Death Row is like a machine. And that's what he was rolling with at that particular time until he got those 3 albums done that he needed to get done for Interscope. And then everything would have been cool. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.